I'm going to welcome Lisa Dierk back to the microphone to present the report of the Synod Vice President.
Thank you, Bishop. Greetings again, Southeast Minnesota Synod Assembly. It has been my pleasure to continue to serve as your Synod Vice President. My primary responsibility is to lead the Synod Council and its Executive Committee. As many of you may know, the Synod Council serves as the Synod's Board of Directors and is the interim legislative authority between meetings of the Synod Assembly. The Executive Committee consists of 4 Synod officers and 2 additional members who are elected annually by the Synod Council from its membership. The Synod Council met in person as well as via Zoom 5 times since the 2023 Assembly. Our work is so exciting. It includes preparing a preliminary budget for the Synod Assembly for your approval. But it also includes issuing letters of call, appointing representatives to boards and committees who weren't elected by the Synod Assembly, and lots of other administrative type tasks. It's so fun. So, serving as leadership for this group of lay and rostered leaders is a true honor, and I want to share with you a little bit about what we did in the last year. So one of my highlights every year is our fall gathering of the Synod Council. This year we gathered at St. John's Lutheran in Owatonna. We had new members joining us, so it felt good to gather in a space that we had used before. The morning was spent reflecting on the directive and timeline for the work of the ELCA Commission for a Renewed Lutheran Church. And so Bishop Hassanelli spoke about that this morning, and I would encourage you to review the ELCA website to learn more about the work of the Commission. Reverend Emily Carson led us in a finance fun workshop, and she made it fun, just so you know. We reviewed the financial duties of the council and how to review the monthly finance reports we receive. The Synod Council also spent a portion of the meeting reviewing the finances of the Synod. And if you're not a numbers or an Excel person, it can be a bit overwhelming. But Emily helped to make those numbers understandable for everyone. The Synod Council also elected Reverend Marla Rotman and Sam Pollock to serve on the Executive Committee, who met as needed between our Synod Council meetings. In November, the Synod Council gathered at Our Savior's Lutheran in Austin. This was a new location for the Synod Council, and I want to thank Our Savior's Lutheran for being such good hosts for us. If your church would like to host the Synod Council next fall for one of our meetings, please contact me. We'd love to visit. Reverend Per Anderson joined us via Zoom to discuss the ELCA social statements and messages, what they are, and how we can give input. Reverend Anderson then led us through a discussion where the Synod Council reviewed and provided input on the social message, gun-related violence and trauma. I would encourage all Synod members to review the ELCA website to learn more about social statements and messages, as well as how you can give feedback in their development. And as the calendar rolled into winter, we scheduled our meetings on Zoom, because in Minnesota, it usually snows in winter. So the weather this year probably would have allowed us all to travel, but we chose to stay on Zoom. In February, the council met with topics ranging from the status of nominations for Synod positions, as well as the process for nominating persons to serve on the churchwide assembly delegation in 2025. We also spent time reviewing a preliminary 2025 to 26 Synod budget and appointed members to a budget task force to dig in deeper. In March, I had the opportunity to attend the gathering for vice presidents from all synods of the ELCA in Chicago. This was the first time that I had been to churchwide offices. The topics for our group ranged from the Commission on the Renewed Lutheran Church to ELCA social statements to how to go about preparing for a bishop's election. It was a pleasure to spend time with other volunteer lay leaders from across the nation to learn how each synod goes about meeting the needs of our members. In April, the Synod Council meeting agenda focused on approving the preliminary spending plan for 25-26, which is before the Assembly today. I would like to thank Treasurer Jeff Chestnut and the members of the Budget Task Force who worked hard to bring forward a budget that reflects the values of our Synod. I am grateful to the lay and rostered members of our synod who offer their time and talents as members of the council. This role requires them taking time away from their families or other commitments to be at meetings and to review materials prior. My call to action for all members of the synod is the same as it was last year. Consider what are your strengths or skills that you've been blessed with, and how can you share them with others for spreading God's love? No matter what your skills are, there's an opportunity for you within your congregation, your community, or the synod to serve others in His name. Take a moment to consider how your gifts could benefit others. Do you enjoy those numbers and want to help with budgeting? Are you creative? Perhaps you can create a quilt to give to others, or maybe a mural in the Sunday school area. Is your special talent visiting with others, and you would like to visit some of our members who are unable to attend Sunday services? As you consider all the possibilities, jot down just one idea of how you might be able to share your skills and strengths with others. For those of you who are not an in-the-moment decision maker, perhaps you are going to make a note on your paper or electronic calendar to think about this in the coming week and come up with a way that you might use your strengths in the service of others. God created each of you with your own special skills, and He's watching to see how you put them into action for others. I look forward to the coming year as I continue in the role of Vice President of the Southeast Minnesota Synod. Thank you.